Hey guys, Mr. Farmer here. Today we're going over Chapter 8 of AutoCAD, Draw Commands, Section 1. So we got a few objectives here. Number 1, know where to locate and how to use the draw commands. Number 2, be able to draw lines. Number 3, be able to draw circles by each of the 5 options. Number 4, be able to draw arcs by each of the 11 options. Number 5, be able to create point objects and specify the point style. And number 6, be able to create polylines with a certain width and composed of line and arc segments. Polylines are really useful. We'll get into that later on. All right, what are draw commands? Draw commands create objects. Okay, well, what is an object? There's two types. There's simple objects and simple shapes, complex shapes. Simple objects appear as one entity, one thing. So things like a line, a circle, an arc, or a point. Right? There's also complex shapes that appear to be composed of several components, but each shape is usually just considered one object. So the best example there is a polyline, which we'll get into. There's some other draw commands that we're going to go over in Chapter 15 much later on, where they're a combination of simple and complex shapes. So some examples there are polygons, helixes, ellipses, things like that, where it integrates some geometry, simple and complex geometry together. Okay, so draw commands. Let's get started here. I'm going to open up a drawing template. Remember, AutoCAD is inches. AutoCAD ISO is millimeters. I'll use inches today. And then in keeping with good practice, let's set our limits. I'm going to set my limits to bottom left-hand corner 0, 0, top right-hand corner 17, 11. Why not, right? And then zoom all. Great. I've got my workspace in front of me. I know everything's ready to go. Make sure you get in the habit of doing that when you start working, okay? Draw commands. There's two different places you can get to these things. The first place is up here. I can use my mouse if you're a mouse user. I can just click up here. I've got lines, I've got circles, arcs, polylines. Notice some of these things have drop downs because there's different methods for drawing these things. A line doesn't have a drop down because there's only one real way to draw a line, right? Okay. The other thing you can do is use your command bar. So say I want to draw a line. Well, let me give you an example here. I can click line with my mouse, and I can draw a line. Click, click, click. I can draw lines, right? I can also, if you're not a mouse user, I can use my keyboard like a hacker, and I can type the word line. Click, right? And then I can do that same thing. Or if you don't want to type the whole word line, because that's a lot of work, I can just type capital L. Look, same thing. Amazing, right? Amazing. Okay. Coordinate entry input methods. If I'm going to draw a line, I have to give it some instructions, like where's the first point, where's the second point, so on and so forth for each line segment. You've got multiple options for that as well. You can use your mouse, like I was doing, or you can use dynamic input. I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to go down here to the command bar, L for line, and I want my first point to be at 1, 1, right? There it is. And then I can tell this thing, I want to draw a 10-inch line at 60 degrees. I'm just using the keyboard, entering in numbers, hitting tab between numbers, and then when I'm happy with it, I click enter, right? And then let's say another 10-inch line at 60 degrees. Boom. And then another 10-inch line at, let's see, what would that be? That would be 270 plus 30, 300 maybe? No, that's not right at all. Let's see here. You get the idea, right? So I can use the keyboard or I can use the mouse, whatever you prefer. Sorry, I screwed up that triangle there. Good. So mouse input, dynamic input, or command line input. These are all ways of coordinate entry input, right? So line, as I said, you can click line, you can type line, or you can type capital L. Circles, you can click circle, right? Or guess what? You can type circle. Or if you don't want to type the whole word, you can just type, guess what letter? C, capital C, and boom, you have a circle, right? So you can click or you can type, whatever you prefer. There are multiple types of circles. There's 5 different types you can use here. Remember, there's a hover to discover function here, so if you don't know what it is, just like hover your mouse over it, and it'll tell you all about it, okay? It'll even give you a demonstration. So there's center radius, which is probably what you're going to use most of the time. There's center diameter, there's 2-point, 3-point, tangent, tangent radius, and tangent, tangent, tangent. I'll tell you what all these things mean. So center radius is kind of self-explanatory. It's just like drawing a circle on Microsoft Paint. I'm going to specify a center point and then a radius, right? I can also center diameter, specify a center point, and I can draw using a diameter. The diameter is twice the radius, okay? I can do a 2-point circle, where that first point determines where one part of the circle is going to be anchored, and then my second point determines where the opposite side is going to be anchored. That's a valuable one. I can do a 3-point circle, right, which is a little weird if you need to use that. And then let's get into some other ones. Let's say I'm going to use my keyboard now. First point is going to be 5, 5. Boom, and then I'm going to draw this line, and it's going to be 10 inches at 180 degrees at 270 degrees, right? So I've got that line there, and then let's say I've got another line. Now I'm going to click right here, and I want a circle to fit in this corner where it touches both sides. Well, I can use tangent, tangent, radius. Check this out. I can click this side and this side, and then I can specify a radius, I don't know, 4 inches. Pretty cool, right? That's handy. Or, let's say I've got this diagonal line up here, and I need a circle that's going to fit in this corner, but also touch this diagonal line. Well, for that, I can use tangent, 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 tan, tan, tan. I can click this side, and this side. Ta-da! It's a circle that fits perfectly within that area. That's tangent, 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 okay? So all kinds of ways you can draw a circle. Some notes, some special things you should probably know. The 2-point method specifies the location and the diameter, right? The tangent, tangent, radius method, the one we did before this, is probably the most efficient and productive method. The object snap tangent modes are automatically invoked. This is the only draw command option, the only one that automatically calls object snaps, right? Just keep that in mind. Let's move on to the arc command. What is an arc? An arc is like a line, but it's curved, right? So we've got arc. Notice we've got a whole bunch of methodologies for drawing an arc. Let's just start with 3-point. So it says specify start point of the arc. I don't know, let's put it at 4, 4. And then I can move over, and then I can specify the 3rd point, right? 3-point arc. Notice it's just like this curved line. That is an arc. There is start, center, end, start, center, angle, start, center, length. You really just need to play around with these. That's the best way to learn them. Let's see here. Quick note. The arc is always, with a few exceptions, is always drawn by default in the counterclockwise direction. Counterclockwise direction. There's a few exceptions to that, but just keep that in mind. Counterclockwise direction. Let's do start, center, angle. So here's a methodology where the angle is included. It's the included angle between the sides from the center to the endpoints. A negative angle can be entered to generate an arc in the clockwise direction if you need to do that. So we'll start here. Here's the center point of the arc, and then you can draw whatever angle of that arc you need. So it's like drawing, it's like the circle tool, right? You've got a radius, but you can draw a section of a circle. So like if you wanted to do that, so you could draw, I don't know, a nice piece of pie, or something like that. That is the start, center, angle method of drawing. There's also like 9 other methods that you can use, and they all have like valuable applications, but the best way to learn them is just to play around with them, okay? Okay, let's do the continue. So let's say I've got a line here, and I want an arc that's going to be tangent to that, but continues off of it. So there's this continue function, where it just takes your last drawn point, and then it kind of splits an arc off of that, and it's going to be tangent. Right? Does that make sense? Okay, good. The continue function. The new arc continues from and is tangent to the last point that you drew. Okay. Another quick note. Usually, but not always, it's easier to use the circle command followed by the trim tool to create a section of a circle. I know I showed you how to do the arc where it was a portion of a circle, but let's say we had this 2-point circle and we needed to cut where it was just this piece. You can also use the trim tool and just trim that piece out and end up with that piece of the circle. So keep that in mind. The point tool. Make sure I don't run out of time here. The point tool. So once again, for point, you can go up here and use your draw tools to get to the point tool. Or where are we at here? Point tool. There's multiple points. Yep, you can go up here, or you can type in the word point. Ta-da! Or you can type in the word PO for point. PO, and you can put points in places. The value of that, it seems a little weird. Why would you be drawing points? But the value of that will become apparent to you later on. Now, notice that that point is itty bitty, and it's kind of hard to see. See that little dot right there? You can change the style of the points, right? The point style dialog box is only available through the methods listed in the command table. So you have to type it down here. So this is point type. And you can change how that point looks. So there's a little dot. You can have an X. You can have a square. You can have crosshairs. And you can change the size, right? So I'll hit OK. So now my point is crosshairs, right? PO for point. I can make another point right there. Okay? Okay, let's do polyline, and then we'll be done. Polyline. What is a polyline? A polyline has special features that make this object more versatile than a line. 3 features are most noticeable when first using polylines. It can have a specified width, like a boldness, right? Several segments can be connected, and they're one object, whereas if you use the line tool, it's separate objects. And number 3, a polyline can connect arc segments. You can have arcs within your line, right? It can also have a tapered width. So let's just try this out here. So we've got polyline, right? We'll do polyline. And I can draw just like I was doing, right? The only difference is this is considered one object. See, when my mouse goes over it, it all highlights. It's not just a collection of segments. It's one object, right? When you're drawing a polyline like this, you can also type A for arc and start an arc off of the end of it, right? So that's kind of cool. And then there's an option where you can close it. So if I type CL for close, it just takes whatever point I was on and connects it to the endpoint where I started, right? That's the close function. Polyline width. So let's do this again. Polyline. I'm going to draw this. And then we're going to specify a width. So W, and then I'm going to change my width, right? Let's say starting width is, I don't know, 2. Ending width is 5. Whoa, look at that. Now I can create something with thickness. Maybe that was a bad example, but let's do it one more time here. Width, right? That's W for width. I want to start at, I don't know, 0.025, right? And I'm going to end at a width of 0.05, right? So when I draw it, it gets thicker. See how, like with the line tool, it's just a line. It has no thickness. But with a polyline, you can give it some thickness, some boldness. So width, it's W. We'll start with 0.1 and end at 0.25. That's a good example. See how it's got some width to it. Okay. Yep. So to summarize, draw commands. We got some basic ones: line, polyline, circle, arc, and then some complex ones that we'll get to later on in Chapter 15. I think that's it. If you have questions, feel free to send me an email, and keep up the good work. Thanks for watching.